All right, so today we are going to be talking about embedding quotes as we get ready to start our first essay on Of Mice and Men. So you can see on the screen that we are gathered here today for a little bit of a funeral for some of the phrases that you guys are used to using when you introduce a quote into your writing. Things like "in the story it says," or "the author writes," "on page 17 we can see," or my personal favorite that I see all the time is "the evidence is." Before you moan and complain, but this is what we were told to do when we were in middle school. That's true. I'm not saying you were taught wrong. I'm just saying that this would be like learning to ride a bike with training wheels and then wanting to ride the bike with training wheels for the rest of your life. That's just not as fun as riding the bike without training wheels. So we're going to get rid of the training wheels that are like these quotes or these phrases that you can see on the screen, and talk about how we can become more mature and sophisticated in embedding our quotes. So let's look at a couple examples of embedded quotes that I see when I read your writing. So sometimes I see just the quote in your writing. There's nothing before it over here. There is proper parenthetical citation at the end, but we don't have anything written before the first quotation mark. This is called a dropped quote because you are literally dropping the quote on your reader. You're not providing any context for the evidence you're about to provide. Now, this example is better because it does have a little bit of your own writing in front of it, but it's still not that great. "In the text it says" is one of the phrases that we are putting to rest and we will never use again in our writing. So ideally, this is what we are looking to include more of whenever we embed quotes. So we have "the description of the bunkhouse reveals the fact that these ranchers have very few belongings." And then I provide the quote from Of Mice and Men. Let's break down the parts of this really awesome embedded quote. So in yellow, the information that comes before the quote, this is called a signal phrase. And to write a signal phrase, you want to ask yourself, what is going on in the quote that I've chosen? You can think about something that's happened right before this moment, something that has caused this moment to happen, or you can consider what point you're trying to make by including this quote. I was trying to point out that the ranchers have very few belongings in Of Mice and Men, so that's why I chose the quote and I include that in my signal phrase. What you see highlighted in peach is the quote word for word from Steinbeck's novel. Notice that I start my quote here with the word "over." This is not the first word in the sentence that includes this quote. I've eliminated the first few words to make it flow a little bit better in the signal phrase before it, and I'll talk about why on a future slide, why I have these brackets here surrounding the letter O. At the end of the quote is parenthetical citation, where you give credit to the author of the evidence and provide a location for the quote. In this case, this quote can be found on page 9. On the next video, we'll talk about the 4 ways for embedding a quote.